Let's get brutally honest. Your Instagram feed is curated more by your shadow than by your conscious choices. That shouldn't comfort you. It should disturb you, because the real war on your mind isn't happening in some dystopian government lab or behind a political curtain. It's taking place inside you, in the battleground where your deepest, least acknowledged impulses are policed, censored, and stamped out in the name of fitting in. Travel back for a moment to early 20th century Europe. Carl Jung is looking out at a continent devoured by industrialization, propaganda, and mass movements. He sees how entire crowds swell with intensity, driven not by clarity, but by something deep, unspoken, and violently repressed. Nations don't just mobilize armies, they mobilize psyches. Mass psychology is born, and with it, a terrifying realization. When you suppress your most uncomfortable truths, you don't become more civilized. You become programmable. Now rocket yourself to the 2020s. You have more information, more choices, more ways to express yourself than anyone in history. But ask yourself, whose desires are you actually expressing? Is it really your taste for meme trends, your outrage at the latest viral villain, your curated self? Or is it the echo of urges you're too uncomfortable to admit? Social feeds don't just mirror your preferences, they amplify the impulses you've banished into exile. Trending topics become shadow amplifiers, transforming denied fears and hungers into clickbait and mob outrage. Jung called this denied part the shadow. What is it, exactly? Not evil, not some horror movie demon. The shadow is the collection of impulses, urges, and truths about yourself that you refuse to acknowledge, and by refusing, you dump them into a psychic landfill, hoping they'll disappear. But they don't. They leak, they fester, and they make you easy to predict, easy to engineer. Society treats the shadow like radioactive waste. Bury it deep, profit from the fallout. You may think you're acting freely, but what if your visible self is just a mask, and the parts you hide are being harvested, measured, and weaponized by powers that profit from your conformity? If you don't know your deepest urges, who does, and who benefits? Online, everyone tells you to embrace your shadow, as if it's some fuzzy exercise in self-love. But shadow work, Jung warned, isn't about comfort. It's destabilizing, fiercely resisted by your ego, and most importantly by the collective forces that need you tame. Mass society survives by keeping the shadow out of sight and out of mind, by turning your repressed chaos into predictable behavior. And here's the uncomfortable pivot. The very act of hiding from your own darkness is what makes you available, psychologically, in every mob, every meme, every manufactured trend. You aren't just a bystander to this process, you're a participant. You are complicit in your own psychological capture, because it's easier than facing the truth about yourself. Sit with that unease, because next, you'll see how your shadow isn't just hidden, it's being weaponized against you, fueling collective stupidity on a mass scale. You've already glimpsed the uncomfortable fact: what you refuse to acknowledge in yourself doesn't simply disappear. No, it festers in the dark, fueling anxieties, irritations, and self-doubt. But Jung didn't leave it there, as a private neurosis. He understood something deeper, something most psychology ignores. Your unintegrated shadow isn't just your personal baggage, it's raw material for mass manipulation. It's the secret ingredient in every hysteria, every viral witch hunt, every hypnotic surge of collective stupidity. You're not just a target, you're the delivery system. Look back through history, and you'll see the machinery working in plain sight. 1930s, Europe wasn't just plagued by propaganda, it was animated by crowds, drunk on narratives that offered easy villains and fake clarity. Jung's own era teemed with movements that took the worst bottomless envy, resentment, longing for destruction, and spun them into banners, uniforms, and slogans. These weren't isolated monsters, they were millions, united by their refusal to face the shadow within. Mass psychology exists because the unexamined self is so easily colonized. Jung, in The Undiscovered Self, exposes the operational definition. Groups channel collective shadow material into simplified narratives and scapegoating, manufacturing false unity by offloading what you hate about yourself onto an external enemy. This is a shortcut to a pseudo-identity, a narcotic, not a cure. When you opt for group belonging without self-reflection, you aren't joining a movement, you're becoming an instrument, a vessel for someone else's agenda. You might believe you're immune, that your social activism, your belong to a cause identity, is a mark of enlightened engagement. But the 2020s digital landscape isn't the exception, it's perfection of the formula. Algorithms wrap your half-glimpsed fears in memes, push your envy into trending hashtags, and weaponize your outrage in swarms of digital vigilantes, meme armies, cancel mobs, and those endlessly toxic comment section crusaders. These aren't anomalies. They are today's shadow swarms, surging with unowned feelings, projecting them onto digital scapegoats with a speed and intensity no 20th century crowd could match. Groupthink is the anesthesia of the unanalyzed mind. Are your convictions truly yours, or were they injected, without your consent, into the vacuum of your disowned self? Pop psychology tells you there's virtue in belonging, that dissolving your rough edges in the group will heal you. Jung shreds this delusion. Belonging, when it's purchased by repressing your depth, is a bargain with emptiness. The collective shadow is a Trojan horse, ushered in with fanfare, only to sabotage your sovereignty from within. Every time you surrender your judgment, laugh along with the mob, hit share without thinking, you reinforce the cycle. Repression breeds projection, projection demands conformity, and conformity mutates into collective stupidity, so efficient, so intoxicating, you don't even realize what you've given up. But this isn't just a critique, it's an ultimatum. You're approaching a crossroads. Will you continue operating as an unconscious conduit, or dare to reclaim your psychic agency? The next step isn't about theory, it's about what you do, internally, when the pressure to conform becomes irresistible. Are you ready to confront the machinery at work inside you? Because resisting collective stupidity won't begin with a hashtag. It starts right where you least want to look, within your own disowned shadow. Shadow integration is psychological civil disobedience. Have you ever wondered why? No matter how many motivational posts you scroll or collective movements you join, you still feel beneath the surface that something is off. This is not a bug in your psyche. It's a signal. If you've followed this path so far, you've seen how modern society has set up its machinery to exploit what you repress, turning your unlived instincts and doubts into the very operating code of engineered collective stupidity. Now comes the confrontation you cannot outsource. What can you do to reclaim your mind from the algorithmic mob? How can you make your choices genuinely yours? Jung's original definition, found in Psychological Types, makes the next step clear and unsettling. Shadow integration is the ongoing discipline of facing, dialoguing with, and assimilating the exiled parts of yourself, your irrationalism, your envy, your rage, your illicit dreams. It's not about soothing your anxiety with self-care mantras or bathing in therapeutic acceptance. Real shadow work destabilizes your fantasy of being entirely good, entirely conscious, entirely in control. The cost of awakening, risking alienation from the crowd, choosing complexity over comfort, even if that means enduring inner conflict and psychic dissonance. Recognize the operational signals when the crowd starts to think for you. Notice projection, compulsive conformism, and emotional outsourcing. When you see yourself instantly blaming the world for your frustration, suspect projection. When you slide effortlessly into the opinions and rituals of whatever tribe or echo chamber surrounds you, flag compulsive conformism. When your emotional state rises or falls with every digital headline, meme, or trending outrage, you're outsourcing your soul to the psychic marketplace. Every time you do this without question, you reinforce the psychic operating system designed for your compliance. Here's the counter practice. Shadow journaling, not a feel-good gratitude list, but a ruthless audit of your taboo hatreds, forbidden desires, and contradictory whims. Critical solitude, deliberately withholding your reactions from social approval, learning to sit with the discomfort of unpopular thoughts. And most importantly, brutal self-inquiry, asking not what you're supposed to believe, but what you most fear and refuse to acknowledge in yourself. This is how you uninstall the cognitive spyware, by confronting the triggers society plants in you, and breaking the link between algorithmic manipulation and your deepest unclaimed impulses. You might feel the urge to dismiss this as self-indulgent or impractical. But tell me, if you can't face your darkness, how can you call your decisions your own? Shining a light inside does more to change the world than any number of hashtags or protests, because it reclaims the only territory technology and ideology can't colonize: the truth you're willing to know about yourself. Shadow integration isn't a side quest, it's the front line of freedom. This is not the end. This individual rebellion reshapes the social paradigm, and in future explorations we'll push this logic further. What if your inner liberation became contagious? For now, you know what's at stake. You can either be complicit in your engineered ignorance, or you can begin the only real revolution within.